Welcome to this episode of Chats with Choccy. Today we're with Darren Manser. So Darren is my friend of a few years now, and I met Darren through Real Movement, where we shared a few days together and then a few sessions together. And the main reason I wanted to bring Darren on was not only for his immense skills in kinesiology, but for the fact when I first met him, he was probably the best listener I've ever met. And also when he spoke, it was always with pure intent and unconditional love. And from that moment, as soon as I met Darren, I said to myself, when I grow up, I want to be like Darren. So yeah.
Mate, thank you very much. Love you, Choc.
Love you too,
All right,
mate.
okay, we're done.
So thanks for coming on, mate. And
Pleasure.
Tell us a little bit about what you do and how it works to, work with Darren.
Yeah, so realistically, I do what we call applied kinesiology, and there's many different types of applied kinesiology. It's like hamburgers. There's hamburgers and there's hamburgers. So with applied kinesiology, the ology means study of, and kines is movement. So basically, I study movement. In Chinese medicine, each muscle relates to a different organ. So, for example, the anterior deltoid. As a massage therapist, we're thinking anterior deltoid and what the action is, or a personal trainer, we're thinking that as well. Yet with applied kinesiology, I'm thinking gallbladder. So then with gallbladder, it's part of the wood element in Chinese medicine. And so the rhomboids are a liver muscle. The anterior deltoid is a gallbladder muscle. So then we're also thinking anger, resentment, frustration, irritation, depression, aggression, rage. So generally speaking, when a person has an emotion, there will be a physical manifestation in one of those organs and or muscles. It's always fascinated me. My journey was being a personal trainer and helping people, getting some results with some people and not with others, and then looking outside the box and doing a bit of massage and getting some results but not really being happy in my soul, and then moving over to acupuncture, and then ultimately getting to kinesiology. And my ultimate goal is to help ease people's suffering. My ultimate goal is to make everyone's life better that I come into contact to in the greatest way I possibly can. So with that, it's like I'm willing to ditch anything that I learn if something better comes along. And it's been quite consistent now the last 14, 15 years where I love the kinesiology, and it's been a very big part of my life.
Yeah. It's interesting because I guess everyone's on the physical level, but most blockages come from the psychological or the emotional side, I guess.
Yeah, well, this is where it's like, Choc, where we have a body, we're not the body. So it's such a stupidly simple thing, but we think we're the body a lot of the time. So realistically, we're a body, we're a mind, we're a spirit. We're not the body, we're in the body. And so an example of this was, when my mum passed away. Super sad, and viewing her body was quite a weird experience. She was there. She wasn't there at all.
Yeah. The
meat vehicle that she'd been cruising around in was there, but the spirit, wasn't there at all. So it really, having that as an experience really struck home the spiritual aspect, that we are, and how we're actually in this lump of meat. We aren't the lump of meat, because the lump of meat gets left behind.
But the spirit and the memory stays.
Spirit and the memory stays, yep. So what do we take with us? We take with us all the good and all the bad. So ideally, it's like create as much good as we possibly can in this lifetime, because that's the experience we get to take with us. I've seen a few, hearses and cars that carry the dead bodies.
Yeah.
There's never a trailer full of shit behind them.
There's not a bank account attached to it.
There's not a bank account attached to it. It's like, all the shit that you've created in this lifetime stays here. So it's a very interesting thing where we get to take our experiences with us, good and bad, and all the physical stuff we leave behind. My journey has been one of discovery, where it's been all about the physical body and achievement and doing better, and then went to massage, and that was really interesting, where I would literally beat the crap out of a person and do cupping and all this type of thing on a person. And if their upper trapezius were tight and their shoulders were up near their ears, all of a sudden, we could relax that. But then if I said, hey, how's your job? And if they hated their job or they hated their partner, then all of a sudden one question and the tension returns. So massage is great. And if it's actually a structural injury, massage will help. Mm-hmm. Generally speaking, the tight muscle is actually the physical manifestation of a problem. It's the consequence. Mm-hmm. What's the cause? The cause is how we think about something or how we perceive something. So the tightness is actually the body's solution to the problem. So if your arm is slightly out of place, your muscles around the shoulder joint will tighten up to make sure the arm doesn't fall out.
Safe.
Yeah, so it's safe. Then what we do with our trigger point hat on, or our massage hat on, or our physio hat on, is we'll loosen those muscles. So now the joint's vulnerable. So what does the muscle have to do? It has to tighten up to protect itself again. So then we're constantly in this yo-yo of, shit, I'm sore, I'll release it, it feels better, it only lasts a day or two. Yeah. So it's getting to the root cause of the problem.
I feel like that, in situations, the rehab and stuff is the same as medication for a cold. Instead of getting down to the root cause of maybe lacking a few vitamins and
And this is where it's fascinating. It's actually okay to have a sniffle. Yeah. Like the body's doing its job. And so one of the things I've observed with this body, so I won't say my body, but this body, but one of the things I've observed with this body is that it doesn't generally get sick anymore. Now I know that it has the potential to get sick, but when there is or has been a cold or a flu or a virus present in the past, the first thing that I do is I starve. I don't eat. Yeah. And the idea or the goal is to put all the energy and attention on treating the virus, get the immune system working. We waste so much energy on a daily basis digesting food. So if I have that energy now available to me to work on the cold and the flu, now I'm not wasting energy digesting food. If I'm not wasting that energy digesting food, I can get better. And the other thing I do is lots of water, and I get as hot as I possibly can. So I'll put the track pants on, like shirt on. No, I won't go that far. I don't have access to one, even though I do now, but I've never really done that in the past. Yeah. Shirt on, jumper on, and I'll wait till I break the fever. Okay. I mean, don't be dumb. Yeah. But realistically speaking, it's like, it's safe to do that. Yeah. Be smart about it though. Make sure you're hydrated, and when the fever breaks, you'll sweat bucket loads, but you feel better. Yeah. Everyone I've taught that to, it's so simple. There's no pharmaceuticals in nature. It's something that's repeatable, and I find by doing that, you're not suppressing the cold or the virus. Because you're not suppressing it, you don't have to experience it again and again and again and again and again. Freud had something called repetition compulsion. It's applied more to an emotional concept, but it's like you get to experience the same thing again and again and again until you learn the lesson. So to a cold or a flu, you get to experience the cold or flu again and again and again until you've completely let it go. So the cold or flu tablets suppress it down. Your nose, it's supposed to run. When you're healthy, there's nothing there. Like there's no blockage. If there's a blockage, shit's not draining like it should.
It sounds so simple, doesn't
it? It's so simple. And this is where it's, the sucking snot. Yeah. Okay, wee goes out, poo goes out, snot goes out. Yeah. Poo doesn't go back in, wee doesn't go back in. Why do people suck their snot? It's so, do you know what I mean? Yeah. One, it sounds disgusting, but two, it's a drainage point. It's toxins that are being, they're eliminating from the body, and just allow them to be eliminated.
It's interesting when you said the fasting thing when you're sick. I think most dogs, to compare us to animals, but when a dog's sick, it doesn't eat. It goes and sits and it just does its own thing, whereas we try and work or look for the best cure straight away, and it's sort of pushing it down and not letting it do its thing, right?
100%. And that's the you know, what do? We push on.
Yeah.
And you know, whether COVID's a thing or not, that's up to you. But I think too, it's like, you know, I look at my own performance over the years, and I've probably pushed on a little bit if I've been run down, and probably infected a few people over the years. And over the last 3 or 4 years, I would say my health has been amazing.
Yeah.
You know, better cleanliness, better hygiene. Other people that have been sick have worn a mask and/or haven't gone out in public. So I think there's been some benefits associated with that.
Yeah.
I think it's also been blown out of proportion a lot. And
yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Just back to like the organs and the stress of the organs, because you talk a lot about stress and the body. So I guess what I'm trying to say is stress of the body is more important to manage than the physical stuff. Would you say?
That's an interesting question. Like, so we experience life through the body. So if we're happy, the nervous system is happy, and then it expresses happiness chemicals through the body. If we're upset, the nervous system is upset, and we express upset chemicals through the body. So it's really hard to separate the body, the mind, and also the spirit for that matter. Where in Western world, we have physical practitioners, and we have emotional practitioners, and we have a spiritual practitioner or a spiritual guide. Whereas I believe a truly great solution for people is actually addressing the body, the mind, and the spirit all at once. And it doesn't necessarily need to be the same person. For me, I've always naturally gravitated towards that because it's been of interest. So, for example, it's like I'll use the specific protocols that I have to help heal the nervous system whilst being as loving and caring as I can be as a practitioner, because the frequency and vibration that I'm in as a practitioner directly impacts the person on the massage table or in my life. And the more loving and caring I can be and empathetic, the greater solution or result that person will experience.
Yeah, I can definitely resonate there. The first time I met you, like I said before, when you walk into the room and you've got that that vibration of loving frequency, everyone just wants to be around you, right? And they feel held and they feel safe, which is the main thing in your industry as well, right? Yeah,
definitely. And it's you know, there's a lot of things where people have been in a position of vulnerability. So, for example, there was a lady yesterday who was basically held captive in her own home for 6 months and was forced to pee in a bucket because she was too scared to use the toilet.
Wow.
So she's had counselling, she's had therapy, and first time she's ever had a session with me, she actually brought another male with her because of the perceived threat associated with being in a confined room with another male because of the situation that she's been in her past. And so it's being as loving as you possibly can to help relax the person you're working with so that they feel the greatest ease in their life.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
And whether that's getting a coffee at the local coffee shop, whether that's speaking to the checkout chick at the supermarket, whether that's letting a person into traffic, we can be an absolute ass, or we can be a loving person. You know, and
it's a choice.
It is absolutely a choice. More often than not, we're stuck in the reactions of it. And then, you know, you dickhead, get out of the way. And then all of a sudden we go, fuck, I've done it again. And then we go, So then it's not just one thing we've got going on, it's 2 or 3 or 4 layers of crap now we need to work on.
And that builds up into a big story of...
Correct. And then depending on how you view it is depending on which organ's affected, and depending on which organ's affected is depending on which muscle's affected. And then it's not a matter of if, but when a disease will result, because we've been holding onto things for multiple years.
I just on like holding on to things, I know the first time I came to see you, I had a lot of limiting beliefs around like becoming a coach and you know, going through that tradie to coach cycle was really challenging for me, but I guess with your help we overcame them. But for people at home and stuff, how can they overcome their own limiting beliefs, and you know, is there tools you can use?
Yeah, you can't. You're screwed. No, just kidding. No, you really are. No, no. It's so one of the biggest things. You know, there's these sayings of like fake it till you make it, and that type of thing. You know, before we came on air, we were talking about affirmations and you know what role do they play, and it's really interesting. So. The fact we want to achieve this goal means we don't actually have that goal. And a lot of the people will say they want to be healthy. Okay, so why do you have back pain? You know, why do you have cancer? Because there's clearly something that you haven't let go of yet. And it's so bizarre because I'm literally in the healing industry and help to heal people with the different techniques that I have. And realistically, it's like if people let go of their shit, I wouldn't have a job. So
yeah, it's a bit of a paradox.
It is totally. So it's and this is where it's really interesting. So from a personal perspective, if my diary is busy, I've never advertised. I've never spent 1 cent on advertising. My business motto is I'll treat you like you're a member of my family and I get the rest of your family. And I don't normally tell people that, but you know, who doesn't want to hang out with someone that's friendly and loving and caring? So I'll look at my diary in particular and it's like there's no clients booked in. And it's like they don't want this as I'm pointing to myself. And it's not me per se, but it's my connection with the universe they're not interested in because I'm not vibing in a good way. I look at my diary and I'm busy. They want this as I point to myself again. It's not me they want. It's my connection to the universe that I've created. So then my goals per se, I see as how aligned am I with the universe? So in order for someone to achieve a goal, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's being in shape or being you know, happy and healthy and being able to move or attracting a certain number of clients or dollar value, it's how in alignment or harmony am I with that? I don't have the $1 million because you're not in harmony with it. Now, let me give you another analogy. And I love analogies. And the reason why I love analogies is because if we can understand the concept, it's so much easier to act on the principles. So the analogy is a radio station we're driving in a car. If it's crystal clear, we're in perfect harmony with the radio station. If we're achieving a goal, we're in perfect harmony with the goal. If the radio station in the car is crackly, we're not in harmony with the radio station. If your goal hasn't manifested yet, you're not in harmony with your goal.
And
as Bruce Lee said, put water into the cup, it becomes the cup.
I love that. And we were talking about it before we got on air as well, with the foot on the pedal. And when you try and act to become what you desire, there will be resistance as well.
Correct.
So when you're not in harmony, it doesn't mean you're not on the right track, but there's things that are coming up to challenge you on the journey.
Yeah, and in a way too, it's like, let's say for example, you know, and I use lots of examples. Why? Because I want to help as many people as I possibly can, and the more examples I use, the more people that are listening to this can apply it to their life in many different ways. So another example is a relationship. If you're not in a relationship and you would love being in a relationship, you could say I'm a loving person and I'm a lovable person etc. And they're great affirmations to have. If you say, I am lovable, and then the little voice inside of your head says, no, you're not, based on whatever, then it's realistically, when you select a goal, the opposite will be presented. So the opposite is everything that you've thought or believed or held in mind that's preventing the manifestation of your goal. When you're totally surrendered and you can say your goal and nothing comes into the opposition of that goal, then it's more than likely that you'll manifest it very soon. So that's the inherent thing with an affirmation. Say the thing again and again and again and again and again until you believe it.
And I think people have misinterpreted like the law of attraction from a few movies and such, where it's like a pizza or, you know, I want a super fast car, so they're trying to track that. But it's, where do you draw the line with this sort of stuff?
Well, it's like the classic scenario is, you know, as a PT, like you're a PT, I was a PT, like, you know, you have a client come in to see you saying, I want abs.
Yeah.
Fucking hoorah. Righto. So then we do the program for the abs, we do the diet for the abs, we do the activity for the abs, we do the sleeping for the abs, we do the nutrition for the abs.
Yeah.
No, I don't actually like what's the easier way? Well, I've just given you the program. So there's wanting abs, which is desire, and that's a very negative energy. I want $1 million. I want a relationship. I want abs. I want whatever. Then there's willingness. Willingness is a high energy attached to it. Are you willing to do the work to get the freaking abs? Are you willing to do the work to get the $1 million? Are you willing to not spend on the shit that you don't need? Are you willing to invest the money in the what you need to? So there's a massive difference between wanting and willing. So ultimately, it's okay to have a goal. One of the really simple things is, are you willing to do what you need to do in order to achieve that goal? And if you're not, it's all good. Give up the goal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to test it too. If you think of something, you think, oh, that could be awesome, write it down. And if it doesn't work, if it doesn't give you a full body yes, then just throw it to the side. Or
correct. Like I've got a client at the minute who is, you know, thinks she's fat and she's not. Like, you know, on a pinch test, you're getting like nothing, like realistically on a finger and thumb pinch test. It's like, oh, I'm so fat. No, you're not. You look great. You know, but on the same token, you know, she has 3 sugars in her coffee in the morning, very adrenally exhausted, and literally eats a packet or 2 packets of Allen's snakes.
Wow.
It's like, well, I'm fat. Okay, give up your fucking sugar.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't do that. So which one are you giving up? Because they're both creating chaos in your life. You can't have both and be peaceful. Like it is actually okay to be a little bit chubby.
Yeah.
And not that she was fat in any way.
Yeah.
But it's like you can't complain about a result when you're still doing the actions that contribute to said result.
Yeah, interesting. On something like that with that lady, does she have to work through the trauma behind that addiction, or would she be able to just make a change and then go through with it?
Potentially, like for her in particular, it's she's emotionally uncomfortable in this point in time, so then she's escaping through sugar. So here's a little fun fact for you. Go to the doctor's office. Generally, what do they have in a jar?
Lollipop or jelly beans.
Right.
Yeah.
So if someone's freaking out emotionally, they give the person sugar and it stops the freak out in its tracks. They don't have time to deal with you freaking out. Here's a lolly. Piss off.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. So then us as humans, you know, we look for those, you know, rewards, but we also look for those escape mechanisms. So we escape through alcohol, we escape through exercise and excessive exercise that we've talked about with you in your past, mate. We escape through food, whether it's fatty food, sugary foods. Generally, it's the shitty foods that taste really nice. That's the escapism. We escape through sex or you know, porn, working too hard, not working at all, like, you know, watching the movies, binge watching. So generally, it's, once again, there's nothing wrong with escaping. But when you're escaping unconsciously and you don't realize you're escaping, this is where it becomes a problem. Where it continually happens again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
So for me personally, it's like if I'm struggling with something, I will say I'm escaping with an episode. And once again, it's permission to.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go and get a fucking hamburger and enjoy the shit out of it. There's no guilt there whatsoever. But fully in control that I'm doing it instead of unconsciously driving through the drive-through, and then you go, fuck, I've done it again. Then you feel guilty. Then you feel this. Then you feel this. And then you got a stack of shit you're working through once again.
Yeah. I guess that would be when you try and dictate if it's an addiction or a conscious sort of treat.
Yeah. And this is where it's really, really simple. And it doesn't matter whether it's a shitty food or a non-shitty food. You're eating the greatest ribeye around. Someone knocks at the door. You go and answer the door and there's no sense of loss. Then you're not attached to it. If you go, the steak, there's a certain level of attachment there.
Okay.
And then this is where it doesn't matter what the religion is. Like let's say Buddhism, for example. You'll suffer in direct proportion to the amount of attachment you have. Christianity, you'll suffer in direct proportion to the amount you haven't actually surrendered to God. It's both suffering because we're holding on to something. And once again, when my mum passed away, there was loss. There was sadness. And one of the interesting things is it's like, when there's grief and there's a grief experience or an opportunity. So in this instance, when my mum passed away, there was a window, a finite opportunity for me to experience this grief. And it's not only the grief associated with my mum passing away, but it's also all of the unrelinquished grief that I've never expressed in my entire life has an opportunity to express itself now.
So all the times you could have expressed love or expressed sadness comes up when it has the chance.
Correct. And it is a acceptable experience of grief when someone passes away. So this is where there might be 70 grief units. And it's sadness, it's tears. But then there's someone in the corner and they're experiencing 500 grief units. And they're sobbing and they're wailing away. And it's, whatever. But, it's almost like they're doing a hyper experience of that grief in that situation. And yes, it's this opportunity they're grieving. But it's also the dog that died that was their favourite dog. That's now cremated on the mantelpiece. It's also the auntie that died that they never actually expressed. It's also the grandfather that died that they never really let go of. So now this death is an opportunity for them to release all grief that hadn't been released. Now, the window of opportunity will close.
Yeah.
So don't be indulgent, but just be as loving and caring as you possibly can to yourself and everyone else in the same situation and circumstance, and just allow it to process as much as possible because the door will close.
Yeah.
The window to that opportunity will shut.
Okay. So I guess like the severity of that certain event, like how much grief that causes you in that moment will determine if more can come up as well?
Yes and no. It's almost like if you do a search on Google for apples, you get so much shit there. So a search in the nervous system pulls in lots of opportunity.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily just one situation at a time. You could get lots of stuff coming in and you don't even know what it is.
Yeah, interesting. And what would be some top tools to deal with grief when it comes up like that?
Just allow it.
Just allow it.
Yep. Yep. Because like I was saying with the escapism before, when grief is present, it's okay to go and watch a movie. When grief is present, it's okay to go and smash yourself in the gym. When grief is present, it's okay to go and eat some shit food. Just know that when you're doing it, you're not experiencing it. So, what's the quickest way to actually deal with grief? It's to lie down and feel it.
Yeah.
So the overwhelming nature associated with my mum passing away I had to. It was too big for me to actually let go of it all. So the very first thing I let go of with my mum was not seeing her phone number anymore.
Yeah, it's the little things, right?
Well, yeah, but I so my parents so just on my phone, my parents live in Adelaide, and I'm up here in Queensland, so it's a couple hour plane ride, and so my relationship with my mum was via phone, where we would speak, sometimes multiple times a day, absolutely multiple times a week. And yeah, so one of the hardest things for me was not seeing, her number pop up on my phone again. So I would literally think of that and the physical pain that was in the body, and it was just sitting with that sensation. So grief is not an eternal emotion. Love is an eternal emotion. So grief is not something you'll experience forever. But whatever you resist will persist. I repeat. Whatever you resist will persist. So if you resist the grief and don't experience it because it's too hard, it will be pushed down to be experienced at a later date. Whilst it's pushed down, it's creating disease within the body.
Yeah, because it has to go somewhere.
Has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
So the tight muscle, the thickening of the blood, the lymphatic system that's congested or clogged, the hardening of the artery, it doesn't matter what it is. This is where any emotion that we're holding on to has to go into a filing cabinet somewhere, and the body is the ultimate filing cabinet. So it's like we've got 206 bones in the body. Nope, we've got 206 filing cabinets. We've got 639 muscles. Nope, we've got 639 filing cabinets. We've got organs, we've got glands. They're filing cabinets as well. And depending on how soft and supple they are or how rigid they become, will determine our health. Another visual for the people out there. Think about beef jerky. What is it? Dehydrated meat.
Yeah.
Think about rib fillet. It's beautiful, plump, soft and juicy. So this is where a lot of the time, if we have something that we haven't addressed, generally it'll age and it will become dehydrated. We ideally want to be nice, hydrated beings. The more resistance we have, the more tension we have in the body, the more dehydrated we invariably become. The shittier choices we make, in our life by, drinking beer every night versus drinking water.
Yeah, it's interesting. And to correlate that with the most deaths in the world at the minute is heart disease and breast cancer, right?
Yep.
All in the heart space, where we hold a lot of our emotions as well.
Yeah. So what's really interesting with regards to that is, when you talk about the heart and the heart space, a lot of the times the heart itself is exhausted because we're constantly in a fight or flight response. So let's look at evolutionary biology. Now, what does that mean? It means at the drop of a hat, I need to go from complete rest to fighting for my life based on being in a jungle. So I don't have the time to warm up. I don't have the luxury of going, excuse me, Mr. Lion, just hold on a second. I need to stretch and get my heart rate working at optimal efficiency.
Yeah.
So what's really interesting is that the adrenals kick in and we go. So with the adrenals kicking in, the heart is pumping harder to get the blood around the body, and it's instantaneous. So generally speaking, if someone has a heart-related issue, whether they're heartbroken, a valve problem, they are so stressed it's not funny.
I can notice that with myself even before the session today. Everything was a bit confusing, my mind wasn't calm, and my body felt agitated, like I had my neck thing going on. And now afterwards I feel like clearer, everything feels just in complete focus, and I guess that's the difference between fight or flight and rest and digest and relax. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's the sympathetic is the stress nervous system versus the parasympathetic is the relaxation nervous system. So once again, I love stories and look at how people are performing in life right now. if we look at a small screen, for example, and we're on apps and we're on these things that are very dopamine ergic, where nut, don't like it, nut, don't like it, ooh, what's that, nut, don't like it, nut, don't like it, and like all of these reels and shorts and that type of thing. Yep, porn, exactly. So we look at all these things that are very stimulating to the nervous system, and also too, it's like when we have fine motor skills, so when we use our hands in a very fine way, when our eyesight is very, very looking at something quite small on a screen, it's very sympathetic and it's actually inducing a stress response.
Wow.
If we're up on the top of a mountain and we're taking in the entire vista and we can see basically 180 degrees in front of us and we're on the top of a hill, we can see all predators coming up. And we're safe, generally, that's parasympathetic and it's resting. You stress your way to the top of the hill and then you relax at the top going, how good's this? So a lot of the times when we're in that stress response, we're looking at our screen or the computer or the TV too much, we're not moving much at all, and we never ever take in the big picture.
Yeah, I like that. And I guess with that being in that stressful response, we're definitely not in our heart space as much. So we're less open, we're more angry, irritable.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And generally, once again, it's dumb, but it's so good. If you squeeze an orange, bro, what comes out?
Orange.
Yeah, orange juice.
Yeah.
Squeeze an apple, what comes out?
Apple juice.
There you go. You'll never get pear juice from an orange, hey?
I love this analogy. Yeah.
And see, this is where, the point of the story is, when you get squeezed by life, what comes out of you? So, squeezed by life is a car accident. If you finish your car accident event and you get angry, then when you get squeezed by life, anger comes out. There's an opportunity at work to experience something, and fear comes out, frustration comes out, anxiety comes out. Then there's a little bit of work to do. Another great saying too that I really love and resonate with is that anger knocked at the door, love answered, and no one was there. So anger knocked at the door, love answered, and no one was there. Because when you're vibrating at a frequency of love, you don't perceive things as stressful.
It's like when you're in traffic, I always think of this one. If you get angry in traffic, it's not traffic that's making you angry. It's something inside of you.
Absolutely. And this is where, if you start going off at me, maybe there's something to it. Or maybe you're going off at me is because you feel safe enough to express yourself to me. So what's really interesting, if I listen to you express yourself and not take it on board, then I'm allowing you the safety, the opportunity, and the privilege to unload whatever you're unloading. Now people will say, how do I not take that on board? Well, when you have a shower in the morning, do you become the shower?
No.
Okay, you allow the water to go over you. So when you're expressing yourself and I'm in you expressing yourself, I don't have to become you. I don't have to become the shit you're saying. I can allow it to go over me just like the water goes over me in the shower. I don't become the shower. That's dumb.
Yeah. I feel like that's a bit of a practice as well though, right? Like gaining the skills to be more conscious of that.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I don't have to practice being 6 foot tall. Like it just is.
Yeah.
There's just some shit that just is.
Yeah.
And I find, you need to practice writing your name till you don't need to practice writing your name anymore. It's just what you do.
Yeah.
There's certain things that require a little bit of consistent effort at times, like a chin-up, for example. It costs a little bit of energy and effort to have the muscle mass required to pull your body above the bar. If you're not doing that, you may lose that skill. But it's not always guaranteed that you'll keep that ability or not.
Yeah, very interesting. I love that shower analogy. That was really cool. So just for the listeners, what would be some good tips on being more self-aware and taking care of your stress levels, as we've just been discussing. Stress is a big influencer to disease and
See, the way I work is like the type of applied kinesiology that I do. It's all through the nervous system. So it's like if we experience happiness, it's through the nervous system. If we experience sadness or upset or disease or dysfunction, it's through the nervous system as well. A lot of the times, what stresses us is a perception of stress. So for example, if I say mother-in-law, your mother-in-law may or may not stress you based on the experience you've had with said mother-in-law. We could say boss, and your boss may or may not stress you based on the experiences you've had with your boss.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where it's not, generally speaking, it's your perception of the stress that's the problem. So one of the things I normally, love saying to people is love everyone and everything, including yourself. So love everyone. Literally make a list of people you can't love. I can't love them because of that. I can't love them because of this. That's your fucking list of things to do.
That's your conditions you've set upon the world.
Correct. And it's not needing to make love with that person, but it's the appreciation that they wouldn't be alive without God, Mother Nature, the universe's consent.
The same as you.
Yep. So by hating them, you're technically hating yourself, and you're hating the creator of the universe. So literally love everyone, love everything, including yourself. And then you just end up making a list of all the shit you can't love about yourself. And it's like, well, that's your work.
Yeah, that's where you start.
And it's like, if you can genuinely look at yourself in the mirror and go, you know what, I love me, you're in a really good place.
Yeah.
If someone can ask you, who or what, can't you love? If you're making a massive freaking list, there's work to do.
I guess that creates more suffering, like we were saying before with the Buddhists and, and Jesus. The more attachments, the more conditions you hold, the more you suffer as a result.
And that's right. Like, the person can cut us off in traffic, and, based on the fact that we should never be cut off, we deserve to be angry. And then we can chase that person, and then we can give them the finger, and we're justified in giving them the finger, and then we can convince other people later on in the day that are nowhere near that event why we were right.
Yeah, it's an interesting spiral of people confirming your bias, isn't it?
Correct. And this is where, once again, it's an opportunity to be unconscious, or it's an opportunity to choose consciousness. We're provided opportunities all the time. And I also think too, just languaging it as an opportunity. This is an opportunity. And by viewing experiences in life as opportunities, then it gives us the ability to choose how we respond to a situation.
Beautiful, mate. Very beautiful. Is there anything you would like to finish on for the guests before we wrap up?
Righto. What would I like to finish on? I would like to finish on the wisdom I've learned, I guess, over the years is we do not know how long we've got left. We do not know how much sand is left in the hourglass of life. So I would thoroughly encourage you to tell your loved ones and the people you love how much you love them. I would thoroughly encourage you to, make a list of shit you'd like to do in your life and get busy doing it. People at the end of a session will say, what do I do now? Like, I feel great. How do I maintain this? And then I'll literally point to their mouth and say, anyone can smile on their face. Like, literally, anyone can smile on your face. Like, you can do that. But what's more important than smiling on your face is smiling in your heart. So my big message moving forwards would be, are you smiling in your heart? And only you and the Creator know genuinely if you are smiling in your heart. So then my point would be, smile more. What genuinely lights up my heart? What makes my heart sing? Who makes my heart sing? And spend as many days as you possibly can the rest of your life doing what's in your heart. There's a couple of things with my kids where you know, I don't think I'll ever say this job or this person isn't for you. My first question will be, you know, hey Dad, I'm going to do this as a career. It's like, well, that's fine. What does your heart tell me? Like, tell me what's in your heart with this as a career. Oh, I think, no, get back in your heart. I think this person's the one. What does your heart tell you about that? And you'll know really quickly whether this person is the one for you because they're in your heart or they're not. And if they're in your heart, you know, love as much as you can. Share as much as you possibly can and be the best version as you possibly can. And that's where, you know, it costs nothing to share love and be as loving as you possibly can. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Darren. I appreciate your wisdom and
pleasure, brother.
Work on the world. Thanks you very much, brother.
Absolutely love you. And yeah, so in parting, it doesn't matter whatever you're struggling with. I pray that you find ease with all of your problems. And if there is no solution to your problem, reach out to someone. You know, it's you're never alone, and you know it's so much easier to reach out and ask for help if you need to, and to give help, and just to be as loving as you possibly can. It really makes the world a better place.
Definitely can resonate there.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Pleasure, man.
Thank you. You.